Let's make a cool, simple sci-fi railing system. All right, Blender 2.8. Here's the startup screen. I'm going to switch over to modeling. All right, I'm going to hit A to select everything, X, and delete. I'll turn on my screencast keys in case that helps. Okay, so here we go. We are going to make the supports first. So my 3D cursor is right in the middle as it starts off in default. I'm going to hit Shift A and choose Mesh Plane. This is what we have. Now I want my transform tool on, so I'm going to click over here and choose Move so I can see my arrows. If I press 1 and I look from the front, I can see my Z axis and my X. I'm going to press Tab to go into edit mode, and I'm going to rotate this around the X so that it faces me, RX 90. Just like that. I'm going to pull this arrow and I'm going to bring it up so that it's sort of resting on the x-axis, so it looks like it's sort of on the ground. All right, let's scale this a bit narrower, SX, and pull it in, just like that. I'm in vertex selection mode right now. You can see it up here. Press 1 for vertex, 2 for edge selection, that moves it to here, 3 for face selection. I'm going to press 1 to go back into vertex selection, and that allows me to see these points and select these points. I'm going to select that point and this point, so I'm holding Shift and I get both of those points selected right there. And I'm going to scale these inwards to sort of make a bit of a tapering in the X. So I'm going to go SX with them selected, push my mouse up, and that's going to pull them in. Not going to go too crazy, just a little bit like that. Okay. Now, it's up to you what shape you want to make these. I think I want to pull this side in a little bit and just have it stick out on one side. So you can just select the point and drag it like this. If you want it to be lined up with this one, you come up here to the horseshoe, click on that, that's snapping. And over here beside it, choose vertex, so snap to vertex. The vertex I want to snap to is this one, so I select this one here, and I start pushing it, and then I move my mouse. I'm moving my mouse up, and I touch that point. You see the circle? And then it's snapped to that point. I might take this one, turn off snapping, and pull it out just a little bit more, and I would get that effect. Okay. All right, now let's give this some roundness. So select this point, Shift and select that point, and we're going to bevel these. Control, Shift, and B. Control, Shift, and B, or Shift, Control, B, as it says there, and pull. Now, as you do that, you will start to see it splitting. Roll your mouse wheel up to start adding vertices to create a curve. I'm going to use 5, and you can pull your mouse and adjust the curve. Don't make it too crazy. This is supposed to be a piece of metal. All right, but we want it sort of rounded. So I roll your mouse wheel till you get 5 black dots there, and release. Click to accept. So we've now rounded that. We're not going to round the bottom. That's going to be inserted into a little support. Okay, so now we are going to select the whole thing by pressing A, and let's give it some thickness. So I'm just holding the middle mouse button down and I'm panning around so I can see this. Okay, select it all, press E to extrude, left click your mouse, and then pull in the Y direction. As thick as you want these. I want them about that thick. Shift A or Alt A, sorry, will deselect everything. So this is what we have so far. Now we're going to select this face and this face, and we're going to inset them. So you can click up here, or you can press 3 on their keyboard. So select that face, turn it by using the middle mouse button, and hold down Shift and select that face as well. Both of those faces are selected. We're going to inset. And I'm just holding down the Shift button and pushing in the middle mouse button to be able to move it like this. And then I rotate, hold Shift and press in the middle mouse button just to position it the way you like. Okay. Press I to inset, and with your mouse, pull in. Now don't pull in too far or it'll start crossing over. Just pull it in a little bit like that to get a bit of a border. Now that happened on both sides. Keep them selected. And then we're going to push them in a little bit. We're going to scale them in the Y inwards. We're going to hit E and click, and then we're going to scale them in the Y. They're both selected, so we're going to go SY and push your mouse in. So you see it going in. Don't go in too far, but go in enough so that you get a bit of a lip there. That'll happen on both sides. Alt-A to deselect. Okay. All right, so far so good. Let's go back into edit mode. And we're going to round these corners off, these edges. Go into edge selection now, or press number 2. Shift Alt and click, Shift Alt and click, Shift Alt and click, Shift Alt and click. All of those are the sharp edges that I want to round. We're going to bevel these, so with those selected, we're going to press Control B. We don't have to do Shift Control B because we're not just doing the vertices. We have a mesh here now. I didn't explain that very well. Just Control B. Pull. It will remember the last number of segments you had rolled your mouse up to put in, and we're going to keep that. Don't pull too much, just a little bit to give a little bit of rounding to the edges, like right about there. Alt-A to deselect. Let's go back to object mode and see that it's rounded that off. Now, this doesn't look too great, so what we'll do is I'm going to right-click and choose Shade Smooth. That looks better. This doesn't, and so we're going to come over to the modifiers and add Edge Split. Deselect, and that's what we're going to go for. All right, we're not going to worry about the bottom because that's going to be covered. All right, so let's do that right now. Our 3D cursor is still right down there. Let's bring in a plane now. Shift-A, Mesh, Plane, and we're going to go into Edit mode by pressing Tab, and we're going to scale this so that it looks like it's just a little piece that holds that up. So I'm going to scale this thinner in the Y, SY, and I'm going to pull my mouse in. And it may not be perfectly centered, so I'm going to just pull it over until it looks like this piece is in the middle of my plane. I'm going to go SY a little bit more. I don't want it too wide. I just want it wider than this. Let's do the same in the X, SX. Now as I do this, you can see that the front part is longer than the back. I like where that is. So I'm going to select that edge in Edge Selection, and I'm going to pull that in so it looks roughly equal, like this. So, okay, I'm going to adjust all these sizes later. With that done, let's hit A to select this, and let's extrude it down. Press E and click your mouse and pull it down in the Z direction on that blue arrow. As much as you want to make a support there. Alt-A to deselect. Let's go back into object mode by pressing Tab and just have a look at that. Imagine, does that look like it would hold it? It looks pretty good to me. Let's make this look a little rounder. So let's select it, go back into edit mode. Let's select these edges in Edge Selection, the vertical ones. Click that one, rotate around, hold down Shift and click that one, rotate around, Shift and that one, Shift and that one. We're going to bevel these, which will round them. So Control B, pull with your mouse. We can use the same number of segments before. Otherwise, you could roll your mouse. There's nothing. 2, 3, 4. I don't remember where I was at. So you can adjust the size by pulling. Just get a size you like. Say right about there. Deselect. It's done. Let's do something about this top as well, because if you look at this, this is rounded, but this is still pretty sharp. So let's Shift Alt and click on that edge in Edge Selection. That'll select the face as well because it's joined, but that's fine. Don't worry about that. Just get a position that you can see it in, and Control B, pull your mouse. I'm going to use the same amount, but I don't want a big area like that. Just a thin little orange region there. There we go. Now, we haven't been deleting faces that we're not using, and we can do that now. Let's come to the bottom and select this face. So click here or press 3, select that, X, delete faces. Done, because that's going to rest on the ground. Let's select this now and shade this smooth. So select it in object mode and choose Shade Smooth, and we shouldn't have to use Edge Split. If you did, you could just come over and choose Edge Split. Just watch it. It may change a bit. No, it didn't really, so I'm going to X that out. However, I'm not sure where I want this to sit. You can do a couple different things. You can pull this up so that this piece goes right in, or you can leave it where it was. And that looks just fine to me, as long as we don't see a sharp point. Not sure about this, so I think I'm going to pull it up so that you don't even have to worry about that. This piece goes right into there. All right, so that's what I've got. Now at this point, I could still edit this if I wanted to. I could go into edit mode and press Z and choose wireframe, and I can see right through it. I might want this to be a bit more angled, and if I did, the best probably way to do this is in vertex mode. So click vertex and press B and then drag a rectangle. B for box or border select. All right, so you press B, you get these dots, grab that whole area, and I can now pull that in on the X. You see the way I can adjust the angle. It doesn't affect the bottom because I didn't have that selected, so I might just want that a little more accented. Back into solid view and object mode. Just maybe it looks a little bit better. Maybe it's too much, I don't know. Okay, now this is my support. All right, so over here in the scene collection, it just says collection. I'm going to double click and change that to say support, and I'll close the arrow, and I can hide it or show it. So there's my support. Now if I right click and choose select objects, it'll select everything in there, and I can move this now, and I can duplicate it, and that's what we're going to do right now. So let's look from the top, and you can see where the first one is. I'm going to go Shift D to duplicate and drag out another one. Let's say I want another one right about there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, sort of 5 grid units. I would have this. Let's do another one, but let's rotate this one. So Shift D to duplicate it, pull it out a little ways, maybe 2, and we're going to rotate this in the Z around so the angled part faces outwards. Rotate Z 90, and if it goes the wrong way, then just add a minus sign on the end of that and pull it over to here, so that I'm going to have this railing come out through here and then curve into this one, and that's where it'll end. Okay, all of these copies are in this support collection still, so that's great. Okay, cool. All right, let's save this. Once in a while, where am I? SciFi railing. Let's call this video 1. Okay, so now we are going to add the actual railing part. Now, my 3D cursor is still here, and this defines where new objects are brought in Blender, and that's a good point to start with. So I'm going to make pipes, and an easy way to make pipes is actually starting with a plane, believe it or not. Shift-A, mesh plane. There's a plane. Go into edit mode and vertex selection here. I'm already in it, and go Alt-M. That'll bring up the merge dialog box and say merge at center. What that's done is it's collapsed all the vertices. I'm going to move this out here. You see that orange dot there? It's collapsed them all into one point. That's exactly what we want. I'm going to push it back towards the surface. All of this can be moved later. And I'm going to draw out the profile of a pipe. So with that point selected, I'm going to go E to extrude and then left click my mouse to accept, or I guess you can hit spacebar or enter. E, click, and drag out in the Y, and you can see I've got my original point here is now black, active point is orange, and I'm creating a line. I'm going to pull it to here and even past. Now I can't really see very well, so I'm going to go to top view, press 7, and I can see, okay, yeah, I've come through here, and I'm going to bring this roughly to the middle point of this. Now, right now we're just guessing, but we can fix this up. I need to make a curve or like change direction. Press E to extrude, left click, and pull it through. And don't worry if you go too far. Let's press A to select it. It's just a little bit easier to see. So here's what we've got. All right, pretty central here, although I want it higher. Pretty good here. And this one, maybe we have to move this a bit. So let's go back into object mode. Let's select these pieces that make up this. Let's drag it over a little bit. Just, adjust it to where you want. let's take this whole thing and find your transform tool, which is this thing, and I'm going to drag this up higher. I want this one near the top. I'm going to have 3 pipes. Okay, well, we can still edit it in after the fact, so let's put a curve in here now. Edit mode, deselect, Alt-A, select just that point. That's the only one that we need a curve on. This one will move back in a minute. And let's bevel this. Now, it's not Control-B because it's just a vertex. It's Control-Shift-B or Shift-Control-B. And pull. And I'm going to use the same number I had. I'm actually, a good thing to do when you've got a corner like that is to have an odd number. Like, see 3, the third point goes right in the middle. 4, 5. I actually want 5. And I'll bring it in. Just adjust your mouse to where you feel comfortable. I'm going to put it around there. I want a nice curve there, and that's what I've got. I'm going to go back into object mode by pressing tab. All right, we're going to build a pipe that looks like that, or a railing. Okay, and this may need to be moved even more. With that edge selected, and if it's not selected, just go back and select it. With that line selected, go up to object, convert to curve. We're going to convert it to a curve. Now, it doesn't look like it did anything, but over here, there's now this green option here, this icon, the curve. You can click on that, and this is the curve dialog box. We're going to leave everything the same. We're going to come down to geometry and scroll down to where it says bevel. You see bevel depth 0. You start dragging that, and that'll give you some thickness. And I'm going to actually go for 0. I can type it in 0.1. I'm going to right click on it and shade smooth, and that'll make it look smoother. Now that's pretty thick, but I like that, but I don't like the position of this. Height, not bad, we'll see. Okay, so let's just scroll around, grab both of these pieces, and let's move this until that looks a little bit more central. So you really need to look on different angles, and save. Now you'll notice that the pipe sticks out the end. Just select it, go into edit mode, and it's a curve. So this is what a curve looks like here. And I can move this point back in so that it doesn't protrude, back into object mode, so it doesn't protrude on either of those. Yes, that looks fine. Okay, cool. Well, let's do something else. That's, by the way, it doesn't, I'm not sure that it's actually into this, so I'm going to pull it in. There, now it's making contact. Every time I hit the wrong buttons, my screen cascades go off, if that's even necessary for you. Okay, so we got that. Let's take this and Shift D to duplicate right in its place and pull it down a good amount. Let's then change the bevel depth size from 0.1 to like 0.07. Try that. Okay. Maybe 0.08. And I want to do another one. I'm going to lift this one up a tiny bit. Shift D and do another one like that. Let's just have a look at these. Yeah, that looks good. Because of the way we created this with a straight line here and a protrusion coming out, these don't necessarily look centered, but that's just the way that it is in this style of railing. If you made it so that it was symmetrical, that it angled out and angled out, in other words, by just grabbing these points and tapering them in, these things could be dead in the center, but I like this look. All right, it doesn't always have to be perfect. Things don't have to be perfectly centered. We need to create a little circle around these pipes so it looks like they join properly. So the way I'm going to do that is select this pipe, go to edit mode, and deselect everything and select this point. I'm going to bring my 3D cursor over to that point. Shift S, cursor to selected, and go in object mode. That's going to allow me to bring a circle in right at the position that I need it. Shift A, mesh circle, not cube. Shift A, mesh circle, and down here choose 18 vertices. Let's rotate X 90. Okay, I can click that to close it. Go into edit mode and scale it down. Oh, I lost it. Pull it forward. Press the period key to zoom in. All right, get the approximate width that you think you would like for this. Now, you may not know what I'm doing yet, so you'll see and then decide. Press E and S to pull in to a certain distance like that. Doesn't have to touch the pipe yet. And then E again, Alt M, and merge at center. All right, I'll go into wireframe so you can see what that did. That just brought them all to a point, just like that. Okay, I'm going to select it all. I'll go back into solid view. And I'm going to press E to extrude, and I'm going to pull back to give it some thickness. I don't have to pull all the way back. I'm going to move this whole thing in a moment. So pull back to there. Okay, I want to give this edge right here a bevel. I'm going to go to edge selection, and no, I want a face selection there. Shift and Alt, hold Shift and Alt, and that'll get the whole row. Control B and pull, and I'm going to use the same settings I had before, just like that. Go back into edit mode and right click shade smooth. Now if it looks like that, I'll come over here and choose edge split. Now I really don't need the backs of this because it's going to be against this, so I'm going to delete that. So I'm going to deselect, and in face selection I'm going to press C to bring up the paint select. That allows me to grab a bigger area. I'm going to escape and Alt S or Alt A. I'm going to press C, and I'm going to paint select here and here and try to get all of those polys. I'm going to press escape, and then I can move around and look, and if I had an extra one there, I can just hold down Shift. You have to hit escape to get out of there. X, faces, delete those faces. All right, now I can pull this in until it touches, and it looks a little bit more realistic. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this, Shift D, duplicate it, and pull it down until it looks like it's pretty much in the middle. And I'm going to scale this one, make it smaller. It's not going to be the same size because the pipe's smaller. I'm going to go S.75. Let's try that. Looks good. Let's take this, Shift D, bring it down. Same size, just line it up as best you can. That looks fine. Now let's just make sure that these are touching or inserted, embedded. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, now all of these things need to be copied. So I'm going to take this one, hold down Shift, get all of them, Shift D, and I'm going to pull them like this, straight on this axis. I'm going to press the period key to zoom in, and I'm going to line these ones up just so they're touching. Oops. Sometimes when you let go of your mouse, it bounces back. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. So those ones are going to work. I'm going to take them and I'm going to rotate them. Shift D to duplicate, move them out of the way. Let's rotate around the Z 180 degrees. RZ 180. And push them into place, making sure that they're making contact. All right, that looks good. Before I deselect them, otherwise I have to reselect them, I'm going to copy them and I'm going to put them over there. Shift D, I'm going to pull them down. Now these ones have to get rotated, right? Still got all three of them. Rotate Z 90. No, that's facing the wrong way. Put the minus sign in. Click, and they're not quite lined up. So I'm going to press, let's say 3. No, Control 3 will give you the other side. I'm going to pull these over till it looks kind of like where I'd want them, and then I'm going to slide them back, and I'm just going to keep adjusting. Okay, so just rotate around, you view around, and then just pull them until you think that they look good. I'm going to deselect now. I think we got most of what we need. Cool, I'm going to save. Alrighty, now, so we've got support, we've got everything in support right now. And these ones separate. We got that, and this, and this, and this. I think I'm going to come here and I'm going to select all of this stuff. What else? everything except the support, really. I have everything. And I'm going to right click, move to collection, new collection. I'm going to call it pipe. And press OK. And let's see if that worked. Let's hide that. That looks good. Bring it back. Okay. Whether or not that was all overly necessary or not. Let's start giving this some color now. And I'm going to select that pipe. And I'm going to click on the materials, click new, and I'm going to do it right here. Under base color, I'm going to come down and give it a nice orangey color, like that. I'm going to call this pipe. I'm going to select this one and this one, holding shift, and then last this one, Control L to bring up the link dialog box, and choose materials. And they'll all get the same material because they're now linked. Okay, I'm going to choose this piece right here. I'm going to click new to make a new material. And I'm going to call it support out, the outside of support, because we have that inset in there. Press the period key to zoom in. We have this region in here. For the outside region, we have a new material selected. I'm going to choose base color. I'm going to drag it down, almost black, but I might push this into the green zone a bit. Okay. Now I'm going to select this one, and then this one last. Control L, materials. It'll take the material from the last one you select. I'm also going to make all of these that same color. So I'm going to choose support out, and I'll choose these little bases here. And this one last, materials. Now the inside we'll have to pretty much do by hand. So I'm going to come in here, and in face selection, press 3, click that face, and this face. It doesn't really matter. I think we'll have to do them one at a time. Because this object here, I'll come back out, is going to have more than one material, all right? I have to click the plus. That'll add a second material to this one object. And I'm going to press new, and I'm going to call this support in. And I'm going to choose for a base color. I'm going to make it a little bit dark, a little bit lighter, and a little bit green. And I'm going to click assign. I want to assign the material. Here, right now, it's all the same dark color. I'll do this. All right, I'm going to select that face. I'm going to choose support in, and I'm going to assign that color to that face. And this is what you'll get. It's not all that. I'm going to change that so it's a little bit brighter so you can see the difference there, like that. I'm going to have to do that for all of these. I'm going to go in, select the face, choose the material I want, support in, and click assign. Have to do that for all of them. Or I could have done one and copied it. All right. So for this object, I only have support out as a material. Click the plus, choose support in. So now I have the two materials available, and assign that new material. Okay. That face, support in, assign. One more to go. I only have the one material. Click the plus, choose support in, and let's do that. Support in for that face, support in for that face. There we go. Click new. I call it ring or something, and I don't want it white. I just want it a little bit off-white, like that. That's all I'm going to do for that. Okay. So for these, we'll just select a couple of them at a time. Select that one last. Control L, materials. Okay. So choose one, put the material on it, called ring. Select a whole bunch of other ones, all of them if you can. Oops. Control Z if you select the wrong thing. And just keep coming in here, try to get it. Grab that one last. Control L, materials. Hopefully everything is getting the material. Select this one. Put the ring material on, and select these ones, and then that one last. Control L, materials, and I think we got it done. I think. All right, whether or not you like these colors or not. You can do black and gray if you prefer. That might look cool. I'm going to look down from the top. I'm going to hit A to select everything. And I'm going to position this around the middle. I'm going to just press G to go or grab and move. And I'm just going to move this down so that it's here. There's my middle of my stage area, and I want that about there. Or you can make it more central if you want. It's up to you. I want to make 2 of these mirrored objects around the 3D cursor, which is hovering above. In fact, maybe I'll just, if you just go Shift C, that just moves it right back to the center of the X and the Y. I can then A to select everything, and I can move this if I need to, wherever I want. But I just want it, you know, on the side of my 3D cursor. I'm going to make a copy of this, a duplicate, and mirror it to the other side. Shift D and click, choose Object, Mirror X, X Global. Didn't work that well, so I can now just pull this. Now, the reason that didn't work too well is when I select this, see my transform tool is sitting over here. This is like the origin of this. I need to move my transform tool to the 3D cursor. If I do this, Object, Set Origin to 3D cursor, if I then mirror, it will mirror with respect to this middle point instead of with respect to the point here. So Shift D to duplicate, Object, Mirror, X Global. And that'll put my copy over there. So I've got this. Okay. With my 3D cursor still in the middle, I'm going to bring in a plane, Mesh, Plane, and I'm just going to hit S to scale. I'm going to drag it bigger than that to make like a floor region. Let's add a material, click New, and just make it dark. Like that. Okay. Now, the grid is getting in the way. Let's select everything, A, and just pull it up just a tiny bit so it's not above the grid. Cool. Now, if we look in, make sure we're in Eevee. If we look, there's no light or anything. I'm going to click on Bloom and this stuff. Let's bring in a light. And let's make the world black. There, this is what we have. Let there be light. Shift A. Light. Point light. Let's bring it up. Click on the light bulb. Make this 500 and orange. Yeah, that's fine. Go to top view. Press G to grab, and I'm going to pull it over to here. Shift D to copy it. G, pull it down here. Switch this one to blue. Grab both of them. Look from any side, like 3, and pull them up. And here's what we have. Okay, so we've created our SciFi railing system, and we'll do other ones in the future.